Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. The moment Ivy Forrester's feet touch the polished marble of the Forrester Mansion's entryway, a tremor runs through her that she can't quite name, equal parts exhilaration, dread, longing, and regret. And she steels herself against the surge of memories that crash around her. She has returned to Los Angeles with one mission only, to reclaim the man who stood by her in her darkest hour, whose very presence once steadied her when everything else threatened to collapse. But as she crosses the threshold into the grand foyer, her heart twists into a vice as she hears the gentle laughter of children weaving through the hall, a sound that used to fill her with hope but now slices her like a knife. She pauses at the edge of the drawing room, allowing her eyes to adjust to the scene within. Liam Spencer, pale but luminous in the dappled afternoon light, reclines on the sofa, flanked on one side by Steffi Forrester Finnegan, whose smile is equal parts relief and adoration, and on the other by Hope Logan Spencer, whose maternal pride glows like a beacon. Kelly and Beth, clutching a pair of picture books, climb onto Liam's lap in perfect tandem, and when they press little kisses to his cheeks, everything Ivy has dreamed of. Every whispered, "I love you," she rehearsed in her mind on the long flight back, fractures into 1,000 jagged pieces. She steps forward as if drawn by a magnet, every nerve on fire, only to catch her foot on an ornately carved coffee table leg and nearly stumble. A gasp escapes her, and the room freezes as 5 pairs of eyes turn toward her. Steffi's brows knot in concern, Hope's expression flickers between pleasure and protectiveness, and the twins' heads swivel in unison, their cherubic faces pinched with confusion. Liam's gaze meets hers, and Ivy feels a jolt that is at once thrilling and agonizing. His eyes widen, reflecting a bewildered warmth she thought she'd lost forever. It was supposed to go differently. She imagined him storming to her the instant she returned, professing that he'd never stopped loving her, that memories of other hearts and other promises were nothing compared to what they once shared. Instead, here he is, enveloped in the arms of another family, radiant with the proof that he has moved on, that his world now orbits around Steffi's unwavering devotion and Hope's fierce courage. Before Ivy can think to retreat, Steffi's voice rings out, gentle but guard-raised, "Ivy." The single word carries years of history, of sisterhood turned rivalry turned uneasy alliance, and Ivy closes her eyes for a moment, summoning a calm she doesn't feel. "I'm back," she says, her voice cracking only slightly, betraying the tidal wave of emotion roiling beneath the surface. Hope rises, placing a protective hand on Liam's shoulder. "You're here early," she says, surprise lacing her tone. "We weren't expecting you until tomorrow." Ivy's chest tightens. Tomorrow would have given her more time to steel herself, to craft the right words, to perhaps wait until Liam was alone. Now she stands exposed, the truths she's carried locked behind clenched teeth. "I needed to see him," Ivy blurts out, eyes flicking to Liam. "I needed to explain." Liam shifts, brushing a strand of Kelly's hair behind her ear, then leans forward until Kelly and Beth tumble into his arms. "You know you can always talk to me," he says softly, but it isn't to Ivy that he is speaking. It's to his children, an instinctive gesture that slices Ivy's heart as surely as any blade. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "I'm sorry I left without goodbye, sorry I didn't say." Steffi holds up a hand. "You left because you needed to, Ivy. We all understood." Her tone is even, but Ivy sees the tension threading through Steffi's posture. She remembers the pain in Steffi's eyes when Ivy's departure was first announced, the gutting sense that her own friendship had been torn away. Now Steffi's sense of ownership over Liam, over the life they've rebuilt, makes her a formidable opponent. Hope's gaze is softer but no less firm. "We've all been through enough," she says quietly. Liam's focus right now is healing, being here for the girls. "We hope you'll respect that." Ivy nods, swallowing hard. She has heard the message loud and clear. Whatever she thinks she deserves, Whatever her heart still whispers, her presence here is an intrusion, a threat to the sanctuary they've created. But Ivy cannot turn away. Instead, she breathes deeply, feeling every pulse of her own insistence. "He's also the reason I came back," she says, and the words tumble out more raw than she planned. "Liam, you're the one who gave me hope when I thought I had none. When I learned about the tumor, you were there. You stood by me in the ward, held my hand, looked me in the eyes, and told me I wasn't alone. That's why I came back. Because I need you to know that She stops as Liam's expression shifts, surprise and something else, something tender, something unsettled, flickering in his features. Steffi's hand tightens on Beth, and Hope's arm wraps around Kelly, drawing them closer. Silence stretches taut, so thick Ivy feels she could drown in it. Then Liam rises, the girls clinging to his legs, and he steps toward Ivy. For a moment, just a heartbeat, their eyes lock, and Ivy sees reflected in his gaze the echo of a time when everything was possible. But then he glances to his children, and his shoulders settle, as if a weight has returned to them. "Ivy," he says, voice low, conflicted, "you have no idea what that meant back then, what it still means. But you also have to understand. I made a life here. I have a family here." His gaze shifts to Steffi. "Steffi has been by my side every day. Hope and the girls, they kept me going." Ivy's throat tightens. The words land like stones in her chest. "I know that," she whispers. "I know what you've built. I just needed to say it." She turns away, fighting the sting of tears. She reaches for composure in her cold, clenched fists. She will not let this moment break her. Yet as Liam's tentative steps towards Steffi and Hope, closing the circle that Ivy cannot breach, she feels her dreams of reclaiming him slip into the darkness. And then, as if the universe has conspired to magnify her pain, Beth steps forward and tugs at Ivy's hand. "Aunt Ivy," she asks, wide-eyed, innocence pure as dawn's first light. "Why are you crying?" Kelly peers around Beth, her small brow furrowed in concern. Ivy's heart twists once more. These children, her cousins, have no idea they stand at the center of this silent battlefield. She manages a tremulous smile, hugging them both. "I'm not crying," she says, voice brittle. "I'm just happy to see you." Their laughter, sweet and clueless, fills the room, and for a fleeting second, Ivy's resolve falters. The memory of Beth's sticky chocolate kisses, Kelly's triumphant giggle when she mastered her first steps. These recollections mingle with the ache in Ivy's chest until she can't tell where nostalgia ends and longing begins. She kneels, planting a kiss on each of their heads, and in doing so, she offers herself as their aunt still, even though she knows this role will always be overshadowed by the more urgent claim she seeks to fulfill. Steffi exhales, stepping forward to rescue the moment. "Girls, how about we show Aunt Ivy the new playroom?" She suggests brightly, her voice a practiced note of hospitality. Hope nods, breaths the name Ivy as if practicing forgiveness. "Yes, follow me," she says. The girls scamper off, unlinking from both mothers as they flee down the corridor. Steffi turns back to Ivy. "Thank you," she says, her tone conciliatory but guarded. "I know this isn't easy." Ivy meets her stare, feeling the old bond flicker beneath the enmity. "I never meant to hurt you," Ivy says softly. Steffi's eyes glisten with unspoken emotions, rage, sorrow, empathy, and Ivy senses that this is as close as she will come to acceptance. Liam stands in the background, watching the exchange, and Ivy's chest constricts with what could be hope, or the first faint flicker of defeat. She straightens, smoothing the fabric of her blouse, and offers the smallest nod of farewell. "I'll come back later," she murmurs. Without another word, she turns on her heel and strides from the room, each step pounding a retreating drumbeat in her chest. As the door closes behind her, muffling the soft voices of the Spencers and Forresters, Ivy pauses once more, placing a hand flat against the cool wood. With every fiber trembling, she collects herself, knowing that this initial collision is only the beginning of a war fought in glances and silences, in stolen moments and unspoken confessions, where every look can wound deeper than words. And somewhere down the ornate hallway, the echo of children's laughter reminds her that love, once tasted, can never fully be unremembered, no matter how fiercely one tries to lock it away. Dawns over Los Angeles with a promise of romance, reconciliation, and irrevocable declarations of love as the bold and the beautiful returns for episode number 9572. The day begins with the Forrester estate bathed in golden sunlight, the white pillars casting long shadows across the lush gardens where Eric Forrester stands before family and friends, his voice resonant with passion and conviction. Clad in a crisp navy suit, Eric addresses the gathered crowd. Ridge, Taylor, Brooke, Katie, Donna, and others, reminding them that life is too short for grudges and hesitation, that love must be seized whenever and wherever it blooms. He speaks of Italy, of the vineyards of Tuscany and the canals of Venice, of art and beauty and passion ignited anew under the Mediterranean sun. Despite the recent horrors, Luna's reckless rampage, the near-fatal gunshot that brought Liam Spencer within an eyelash of death, Eric affirms that the long-planned trip to Italy will proceed as scheduled. His declaration washes over the circle like a warm tide, lifting spirits and banishing worries. Taylor horns a breath of relief, her hand brushing Ridge's arm as he nods curtly, the old resentment between Ridge and his father momentarily submerged in the tide of hope and renewal. Brooke Logan's face glows, her eyes shining with the prospect of rekindled romance and the chance to write a new chapter in her storied life. Even Ridge, who had bristled at the idea of another overseas excursion, fearing distance might widen the gap between him and Brooke, is moved by Eric's sincere conviction that Italy holds the promise of fresh beginnings for them all. Moments later, in the rose garden adjacent to the veranda, Nick Marone has returned to Los Angeles, his heart pounding with anticipation. Ever since news of Liam Spencer's miraculous recovery reached him, Nick has felt a renewed sense of purpose, the realization that life's fragility renders every moment too precious for regret or lingering doubts. He finds Brooke standing by a marble fountain, its water tinkling softly in the morning air, and approaches with an almost reverent gait. Brooke turns at the sound of his footsteps and smiles, the joy in her eyes like dawn breaking over the ocean. Ridge, watching from the veranda, his jaw clenched, senses the old ache of sibling rivalry resurface, but today, he cannot summon the energy for anger. He observes Nick meeting Brooke's gaze, notes the way Brooke's lips part in surprise when Nick reaches into his pocket and produces a small, velvet box. Nick drops to one knee on the manicured lawn, the world narrowing down to the two of them. "Brooke," he says, voice steady but rich with emotion, "from the moment I saw you, I knew my life would never be the same. We've weathered storms, heartbreak, and uncertainty, but if there's one truth I've learned, it's that love like ours doesn't come along twice. Will you marry me?" Time seems to pause. The fountain's trickle, the rustle of leaves, the distant hum of traffic all fade into silence as Brooke's hand flies to her mouth. Tears glisten at the corners of her eyes. Ridge's fists unclench, and he looks away, torn between pride in his brother and the ache of love that might slip through his fingers. Brooke finally nods, whispering yes, her voice breaking with relief and joy. Nick slides the ring onto her finger, and the two embrace beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient oak, their silhouettes framed by the rising sun. It is, for a moment, a perfect tableau of love triumphant, a pure declaration that echoes across the Forrester gardens, reaching into every heart present. Back inside the Forrester mansion, Katie Logan and Will Spencer share a quiet moment in the sunroom, their earlier conversations revisited with newfound perspective. They speak of Liam's survival, of the miracle wrought by Dr. Grace Buckingham's treatment, and the unexpected remission of his inoperable brain tumor. Will confesses lingering guilt over his earlier skepticism, his reluctance to accept that science might falter when faith and money combine for a higher purpose. Katie places her hand on his, offering forgiveness and reminding him that sometimes the greatest courage lies in believing against all odds. Ridge and Taylor emerge from the adjoining study, their shoulders slightly more relaxed than they have been in weeks. Taylor offers a tentative smile to Katie, and Ridge forces a polite nod before retreating to the veranda to process the morning's twin revelations, his father's unwavering faith in love and loyalty, and his brother's breathtaking proposal to the woman he still cherishes. Ridge's mind races as he contemplates the fragile threads that bind and unravel hearts. He paces the veranda, recalling Brooke's laughter, her warmth, her gentle strength, and wonders if destiny is a force that can be outrun, or if sometimes one must let go to let the heart find its true home. Meanwhile, across town at Spencer Publications, Ivy Forrester sits at her drafting table, the sun's rays slanting through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Her sketches for the upcoming season lie scattered around her, silhouettes of sleek dresses, bold patterns, daring cuts. But her thoughts are elsewhere. She has been distracted since Liam's return, haunted by the memory of his gaze when he hovered between life and death. She remembers how he reached for her hand in that moment, a gesture of kindness she has replayed in her mind 1,000 times. She knows that Liam's heart belongs to Steffi, and that his children, Beth and Kelly, adore him unquestioningly. Still, the ember of what might have been glows in her chest, warming her even as she suppresses it. Today, however, she casts aside her pencils and opens her laptop, drafting a congratulatory email to Brooke and Nick, her words sincere yet tinged with melancholy. As she types, her reflection in the dark screen shows a woman at a crossroads, her loyalty to family and her own desires locked in silent conflict. She hesitates before hitting send, closes the laptop, and takes a deep breath, resolving that her role is to support her cousin, no matter how her own heart aches. By midday, the Forrester estate is alive with celebration. Caterers arrive with glasses of champagne for Eric's toast, while the garden staff hangs strings of lanterns for an impromptu evening fete. Brooke and Nick, radiant and still hand in hand, move through the gathering like newly crowned royalty, greeting friends and family, who shower them with congratulations. Ridge hovers nearby, forcing smiles, accompanying Taylor as she hums softly. Their bond, once strained by secrets and rivalries, feels strangely fortified by the day's events, proof that adversity can either break ties or bind them tighter. Katie and Will raise their glasses to Brooke and Nick, while Donna Logan whispers to Eric that the old man has outdone even his legendary flair for orchestrating family unity. Eric grins, eyes misty with pride, and Terrence adds a wry comment about never betting against the Forresters' flair for drama. As the sun begins its descent, painting the sky in hues of coral and gold, the lanterns glow to life and music drifts across the lawn. Brooke and Nick share a private dance under the oak tree as onlookers cheer, and for a heartbeat, there is only them, their laughter mingling with the whisper of the breeze. Yet beneath the joy, tension simmers. Ridge wonders if he should confess to Brooke the depth of his lingering feelings, or if he should walk away to protect her happiness. Taylor feels the pull of old passions rekindling, memories of stolen kisses and midnight conversations flooding back as she watches Ridge watch Brooke. Katie worries for Liam, knowing the fragile thread that holds his life has been stretched to its limit, and that any relapse could shatter the fragile peace they've reclaimed. Will contemplates how to rebuild his reputation after his earlier missteps, determined to stand by his family and honor the miracle that spared his father's life. Ivy wrestles with the secret she guards in her sketches, the emotion she cannot share but cannot fully silence. And Grace Buckingham, in an undisclosed location, reviews patient charts with guarded triumph, knowing her work has saved a life, but also aware that the cost of miracles is sometimes counted in hidden debts and unspoken promises. As night cloaks Los Angeles, the Forrester Gardens glow with candlelight and laughter echoes under the stars. Eric's speech, Nick's proposal, Brooke's tears of joy, all converge into a tapestry of passion, hope, and the unwavering belief that love, in all its forms, will always find a way. Tuesday's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful delivers unforgettable moments that will reverberate through the lives of these iconic characters, shaping their destinies and leaving viewers breathless for what comes next. Tune in to CBS or Paramount Plus to witness how these entwined hearts navigate the consequences of past choices and the exhilarating promise of new beginnings, because in the world of the Forresters and Logans, every declaration of love is only the beginning of a story far more intricate and profound than anyone could ever imagine.
Oh.